of the N1 highway in Johannesburg in July of 2023. The incident was filmed and shared widely on social media, Thabiso Koba reports.
The Section 174 application was dismissed for all the accused on the charges of assault GBH and causing malicious damage to property. However, only 2 of the accused, the drivers, will continue facing charges of negligent driving, and 4 of the officers will continue to face charges for violating the Firearms Controls Act for allegedly pointing a firearm. Magistrate Abdul Khan only granted a discharge application for the charges of defeating the ends of justice. He found all of the officers not guilty of this offence.
The court is satisfied that all 8 accused had acted in common purpose in the assault.
The trial resumes on the 23rd of March next year. Thabiso Koba, Eyewitness News, Randburg.
The head of the Independent Directorate Against Corruption, Andrea Johnson, says the crime-fighting unit does not utilize intelligence. She says this is what led to the downfall of the Directorate of Special Operations, commonly known as the Scorpions, which was disbanded in 2009. Johnson has been giving testimony before Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating allegations of police corruption. Johnson will be facing questions over the next 2 days about prosecutorial conduct and whether IDEC unlawfully interfered in police investigations.
But we do not utilize intelligence, Chair. That's where the DSO got into trouble, thinking that intelligence is perhaps something we can do. IDEC will collect information that it can get, and we therefore use the subpoena process in terms of Section 28 that allows us to gather information.
At the same time, in Pretoria, Ekurhuleni's suspended Metro Police Chief, Isaac Mapiyeye, is appearing before the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry today. Mapiyeye is currently on precautionary suspension related to separate allegations of sexual misconduct. He's accused of sexually assaulting and intimidating a female staff member. Mapiyeye has told the Commission today that he was appointed EMPD head in May of 2017 with his contract later extended.
My contract was later renewed again in 2022 for another 5-year term, which expires end of May 2027.
To this now, the city of Johannesburg is continuing with efforts to regulate the informal trading sector. Currently, Human Settlements MMC Mlungisi Mabaso is spearheading an operation to remove traders who continue to operate without valid trading permits. It comes days after the Gauteng High Court gave the city until the 18th of this month to register and verify its informal traders. Alpha Ramushwana reports.
Johannesburg CBD's famous De Villiers Street was once home to a place informally known as Tunosa, well known for its second-hand clothing stalls. Although the city removed the illegal informal traders last month, some have since returned and resumed selling without permits. Today, city officials discovered one stall where clothing and fruit were being sold on the same counter. When authorities attempted to apprehend some of the workers who couldn't provide immigration documents, they fled the scene. Human Settlements MMC Mlungisi Mabaso.
But what we are discovering on the ground, is concerning because some of those that have obtained the permits have subletted these stalls to foreign nationals. I think you would have seen in one of the stores that we have visited.
Many other traders quickly closed their shops upon seeing a large group of officials approaching. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News, Johannesburg.
And further afield, the United States says there will be a 10% reduction in air travel capacity at 40 major U.S. airports. This comes as unpaid air traffic controllers faced growing fatigue as well as staff shortages during the longest government shutdown on record. They have been working unpaid since the shutdown began last month, and most have been on duty 6 days a week while putting its mandatory overtime. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says air travel is still safe and the decision to cancel the flights is being made in order to maintain safety and efficiency.
I anticipate there will be additional disruptions. There will be frustration. We are working with the airlines. They're going to work with passengers. But in the end, our sole role is to make sure that we keep this airspace as safe as possible.
Gold is trading at $4,012.72 an ounce. The rand is at 17.36 to the dollar, 22.72 to the pound, 20.01 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $63.52 a barrel.
On the N3 North, there's a crash in the centre lane after Moederfontein Road, so you can expect delays. On the M1 North, there's a crash between Caller Drive and Grayson Drive. And on the N1 North, there's a vehicle broken down in the left lane after Old Johannesburg Road.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng with scattered showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 25 and 27 degrees, while Cape Town is fine with a fresh southeasterly wind at a high of 28. The top story in EWN this hour: the former bodyguards of Deputy President Paul Mashatile have failed to get the main charges in the assault case dropped.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. You're with Mandy Wiener on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. On the show today, the head of IDAC, Andrea Johnson's at the ad hoc committee. Government receives a distress call from 17 South Africans in the Ukraine. The city of Joburg's operation to deal with informal traders, and the revolving door of the MK party swinging at speed. All of that over the next hour.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Report on 702 and Cape Talk with me, Mandy Wiener. Good to be with you today. What's going on in the MK party, hey? For a guy who held the position of finance minister for a weekend and earned the moniker weekend special, to then get the job in parliament for the MK for 24 hours, I mean, there is some deep irony going on there, right? Des van Rooyen was appointed as the organization's parliamentary chief whip. And he was there for like a day, and then they recalled him. And this was the same person who was sent to be the finance minister by Jacob Zuma for a weekend and then was recalled. I mean, there's some deep, deep irony there. We'll try and understand that story. And then a fascinating, strange statement coming out of the presidency today that government has received distress calls for assistance to return home from 17 South African men between the ages of 20 and 39. They are trapped in Ukraine. 17 of them, 16 of whom come from KZN, one from the Eastern Cape, were lured to join mercenary forces involved in the Ukraine-Russia war under the pretext of lucrative employment contracts. So simply, they went to be mercenaries in the Ukraine. They are now stuck and they want the government's help to get them back. But it's illegal to be a mercenary. Under the Foreign Military Assistance Act of 1998, it's illegal for South Africans to offer or provide military assistance to foreign governments. So a complicated situation there. I did speak off air to Vincent Magwenya, the president's spokesperson, to ask him to come on. And he said there are too many layers. They still need to peel through that investigation. So he's not coming on air, but an explanation of what's happening there. So lots to talk about. 072 702 1702, 072 567 1567. The focus today is in Parliament, and that's where the head of IDAC, the Investigating Directorate Against Corruption, Andrea Johnson, Advocate Andrea Johnson, is testifying. And I personally have known Andrea Johnson for a very long time. I watched her convict Jackie Salibi. I watched her convict Oscar Pistorius. And she's somebody who has great expertise and capability when it comes to these kinds of matters. So I found it very interesting watching her today. But as you know, you don't know what you don't know when it comes to these inquiries. Well, let's find out what's happening there. Babalo Ndenze, EWN parliamentary reporter, joins us now. Babalo, take us through some of Andrea Johnson's testimony.
Yes, indeed, Mandy. Andrea Johnson making her first day appearance today. She'll be here again tomorrow to take the committee through her evidence. But her evidence is basically focusing around the issues around IDAC and the PKTT, the Political Killings Task Team, and whether IDAC unlawfully interfered in policing investigations or exceeded its mandate. And a lot of questions, IDAC came up quite a few times over the last 3 weeks, from the first witness, in fact, Kwanazi, about how IDAC basically was behind the arrest, which she doesn't, support of Dumisani Khumalo crime intelligence. Andrea Johnson also taken the committee through some of her background, and as you mentioned, Jackie Selebi and other cases that she's been involved with, just to give the committee a sense of her experience. She also says IDEC, has not had much, or members of the committee put to her that IDEC doesn't have much oversight because there's been no judge to exercise oversight over IDEC. She took questions around that issue from, Judas Malema as well as Bola Ngola of the ANC. Ngola raising issues about having no oversight for 6 years, asking her where did she report between 2019 and 2025. And she responded that, the person that really exercised oversight before the judge was appointed now recently was the National Director of Public Prosecutions, Shamila Batoy. So she says we do have people that exercise oversight over us. So we don't just do as we please as IDEC for the last 6 years. Also been questions about tenders now, Mandy, which is also related to the tender that Ket Matsala was awarded, which was later cancelled for 360 million. As she says that it's the only matter related to Matsala that they are looking into as IDEC, and it's one of the tenders that they're busy looking into in these corruption matters that are on their table. And she says that they were also part of the seizing, of devices, and from when devices were seized regarding the PKTT as well as Shedrick Sibia. She also took the committee members around, some of their limitations as IDEC and what they can and can't do, and what kind of investigations or what kind of triggers them to investigate matters. But she says it's quite restrictive. But let's just take a listen to what she said on this matter, Mandy.
In terms of IDEC, the mandate seeks to also then deal with serious and high-profile corruption matters, also over and beyond the statutory offences one is allowed to look at, POC-DETARA, PRECA, PFMA, MFMA, POCA contraventions, and then the common law contraventions, fraud, theft, forgery, uttering, and offences that in the main relate to dishonesty, Chair.
This issue of Andrea Johnson's husband being a crime intelligence officer came up as well. What did she say about that?
Yes, that did come up indeed, Mandy. She says that her husband, he may have been in crime intelligence, and this is where Dumisani Khumalo is the head of that unit, and she was being asked about this in that context. And she says her husband actually joined crime intelligence in 2009. And, this was years before Dumisani Khumalo ever became appointed as the head of crime intelligence, which happened, I think, about 2019 or so. So 2020 or 2021, roundabout there, beg your pardon, Mandy. So she's saying that, her husband, she does know Dumisani Khumalo. Her husband does know Dumisani Khumalo, the head of IDEC. And they also know Captain Kwanazi as well. But she says that, his appointment really can't really be looked at in that way or be linked to anything regarding what's happening today, because her husband was appointed there, quite almost 10 years or even more than 10 years ago as an official or an investigator in crime intelligence. He was an investigator. He didn't hold any kind of senior management positions, but he was working in IDEC, and it looks like he's still in IDEC, and she's defending this matter, and it basically looks like there are no issues about this from the committee going forward after her response, Mandy.
Babalo, thank you. Babalo Ndenze, EWN parliamentary report on that ad hoc committee. Let's listen in now to Andrea Johnson being taken through her evidence by Norman Arendse, SC.
Hands.
Honorable Nomvalo.
Yeah, no, thanks, Chair. Advocate, I just want to be clear on this aspect. Does a referral only require you to prosecute? Do you not face instances where, for instance, a referral will come with evidence which is not complete, which requires you to do more investigation in order for you to establish prima facie evidence? Is it always the case that it requires you to prosecute, it comes with prima facie evidence?
Honorable Nomvalo, no. When the referral comes, investigation must get done. So an investigation must first be declared in IDEC, and the investigation must be done. So even if we are given a referral with what others might consider substantial evidence, we have to declare an investigation. We have to check that that evidence is correct. We have to go back and talk to those witnesses. We take supplementary affidavits if we need to. We conduct further investigation, and only then do we prosecute. So a referral does not allow for an immediate prosecution. A referral allows for an investigation first. Even if we were given a docket, Honourable Namvala, we would have to first authorize in the IDEC space, and investigations must happen, albeit just to verify. We cannot just run into a prosecution.
I'm okay, Chair.
Let's proceed.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. We just needed some clarity, because you talk about the team, the investigating team, and now the prosecuting team. The matter is discussed. The matter is discussed. But what is discussed? Are you discussing whether there are prospects, or what the prospects are of a successful prosecution? Or do you discuss matter, or is it already determined or decided by the lead investigator, lead prosecutor, that we are going to prosecute, and now you come in as the head of IDEC to discuss various aspects of the prosecution where you may require further evidence, additional evidence, to strengthen the case or whatever? Just to understand your role in these matters.
There's no separate teams. A team will comprise of a deputy director who would lead the team, and there's chief and criminal investigators. There's a project manager who will manage. There can also be data analysts, and if we need external service providers are also designated to the matter. So at the stage it comes to the ID and others for presentation, it is for the team to present their evidence, what the allegations are, what evidence they have to support those allegations, any challenges they may have encountered, what it is they would require from the ID or the head of operations, or having given us that brief, evidence, charges, what supports it, what's the next steps that they...
Advocate Andrea Johnson, the head of IDEC, the investigating directorate against corruption, which sits in the NPA, is giving evidence there. She's already taking questions from members of parliament who sit on that ad hoc committee. So that was a question from an MK member of parliament that she's going through. Very interesting testimony being given there by Andrea Johnson.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
Real growth needs more than just banking, and Nedbank Commercial Banking is your growth partner. Their team of industry experts understand your business and its potential, offering insight to help you see opportunity where others see obstacles. Because when you can see what others don't, you can do what others can't. Think bigger. Think Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently. Nedbank is a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Your office is more than just a place to work. It's a reflection of your success. At Desk and Chair, we help you elevate your workspace with locally manufactured desks and a wide range of chairs to suit your style and budget. Our expert consultants are with you every step of the way, from planning to delivery and assembly. Visit our showroom in Midrand or shop online at deskandchair.co.za. Desk and Chair. Think, feel, work better.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a nervous but excited first-time driver waiting for the perfect gap to switch lanes.
I can do this.
The pressure. The Outsurance pointsman know it's not just a car in traffic. It's a sense of freedom and independence on the move. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Mr. Govender, congrats on the retirement. You just sold your car to Rebar Cars. Tell us about it.
Yes, it just gathered dust in the garage, so I exchanged it for cold hard cash. Now my wife and I can enjoy a stress-free retirement.
Retiring the car as you retire. Nice. So why Rebar Cars?
It was so quick. They came over to our house to do the evaluation, and we sold it the same day. Tops, man.
Okay, so now you got even more time on your hands, eh?
Exactly.
We Buy Cars. Geared for your next chapter, geared for you.
In case you missed it, 702 was in conversation with Santam about Santam's partnership with the G20 taking place in Johannesburg.
We are participating in the Disaster Risk and Reduction Working Group, and through that we are able to share some learning, good practices, and what we've got from our flagship program, like partnerships and risk and resilience. So we hope that the learnings that we are able to share with the G20 countries, we're able to be utilized, most importantly, to emphasize the role of partnerships between government and the private sector.
Santam is a proud sponsor of the G20 Summit. Santam, this is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer, and the controlling company for its group of companies.
And now, it's back to Mandy Wiener on the Midday Report.
This is 702.
Let's walk the talk.
So from the Madlanga, no, I'm wrong. From the ad hoc committee to the Madlanga inquiry, I should know this by now. Let's find out what's happening in Pretoria, where the Madlanga inquiry is currently hearing from the suspended Ekurhuleni police chief. Oren Singh, EWN reporter, watching that for us. Oren, just remind us, why is the Ekurhuleni police chief now giving evidence at Madlanga?
Yeah, I know it's a bit confusing, Mandy. We've had so many people being implicated. But you'd recall that the acting national head of, or the acting head of EMPD, Julius Mkhonazi, his name has featured prominently before the commission. He's alleged to have links to Vusi Musi Cat Matlala. He's accused of having installed blue lights in many of Cat's vehicles and registered some of these vehicles to EMPD. So today we've seen Isaac Mapiyeye, and this is the head of EMPD, who's currently on precautionary suspension. And he's testifying to how he was essentially suspended, but also talking about how Julius Mkhonazi was brought in to sort of serve for the former city manager of Ekurhuleni, Imogen Mashazi, and how Mkhonazi had been working to her benefit, employing people within EMPD, whereas he wasn't authorized to do that. It was the job of the head of EMPD, but Julius Mkhonazi had been basically abusing his powers during the time he's been acting. So that's the crux of what Isaac Mapiyeye is there today to testify to.
And in terms of the specifics of what he's been going through, take us through some of that.
So some interesting points. I think he started off, Mandy, talking about this age-old debate in South Africa where Metro Police have been gunning for investigative powers to allow them to investigate traffic and bylaw infringements in the country. And he started his testimony this morning saying that in order for Metro Police, and I think he's been speaking along the lines of EMPD, but it speaks to Metro Police departments generally in the country, to do their jobs properly, they need to be granted some sort of detective capabilities and investigative powers. And you'd recall that in 2019, there was a research paper done by Parliament that found that a lot of what the problems within Metro Police and challenges that they face is that they can't get successful prosecutions because they have to rely on SAPs to investigate. And in many instances, we find that SAPs are not investigating properly and these cases are not being prosecuted on. So that was just one of the interesting things he's spoken to so far. He's currently going through the allegations of Julius Mkhonazi abusing his powers.
Oren Singh, EWN reporter, thank you very much for joining us, taking a look there at the Madlanga inquiry.
702.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Let's walk the talk.
Now, we have been talking about the potential of plea deals. Is this something that could be on the table when it comes to the Madlanga inquiry? I very much think so. I think that they're going to try and turn some of these witnesses who were complicit and make them become state witnesses in order for their testimony against the police generals and the ministers. Well, in breaking news from EWN, former Bosasa COO Angelo Agrizzi has been sentenced to 10 years, suspended for 5 years. He's entered into a plea agreement with the state due to his poor health. So that's breaking news coming through. Khomotso Modise has got that for us and joins us now. Khomotso, good afternoon. What do we know about this arrangement?
Good afternoon, Mandy. Well, we just heard Angelo Agrizzi's lawyers and the state prosecutors here really presenting and making submissions on this plea agreement that they entered into. And the basis of the agreement, Mandy, has been Angelo Agrizzi's ill health. You'll remember that he hasn't been coming to court physically. He's been attending proceedings from home, and he can be seen lying on his bed with, the tubes that you would see from people who are admitted in hospital, very visibly unwell. And so that has been what's been argued by the state and his lawyers here today, the fact that there is no prison that can take care of him. He cannot be in any prison facility that can provide the medical facilities as well as the medical, what he needs medically while he's incarcerated. And so it has been submitted here by the lawyers that it would be best that his sentence be suspended, which is what has happened. But I must say, Mandy, that Judge Musopa really pushing back a bit as these submissions were made. He's questioned whether the state has really done due diligence, has checked properly that he cannot serve a prison sentence directly. He's also questioned whether Agrizzi has the potential of reoffending, and it has been submitted by both the state and the defense that his medical condition and his physical health won't allow him to reoffend. They've also said that he's no longer with Bosasa. There is no Bosasa anymore, so there is no potential of him reoffending in that way.
So in short, he avoids going to jail. So Angelo Agrizzi will not be going to jail. He has received a sentence of 10 years in prison, but that's been suspended for 5 years, so he doesn't go to prison. But in exchange, they get his testimony against who, I wonder now, because we know that there are some accused, but Gavin Watson, obviously no longer alive, but he has to cooperate with the NPA in its investigations and testify, and if not, he will be jailed, right?
Absolutely. So that is, what his lawyers have been saying is actually a very strict condition, and that the agreement is actually very strict and tight, because they say he must cooperate with IDAC, the investigating directorate, which he actually said, I already have been. They said he must testify, not just testify, Mandy, but testify truthfully against some of those who are accused of this corruption. And of course, he also must not commit any crime of this nature again. So he cannot commit any crime ranging from theft, fraud, corruption, or money laundering. He cannot do any of that. If he does, then he will be imprisoned.
Khomotso, thank you very much. Khomotso Modise, EWN reporter, with that breaking news coming out of the court. So there you have it. Angelo Agrizzi has now entered into a plea agreement with the state due to his poor health. So the former Bosasa COO has been sentenced to 10 years in prison, but wholly suspended for 5 years. So he avoids going to prison, and this is because of his ill health. But in exchange, he needs to cooperate with the NPA and testify truthfully. So this is obviously a 105A plea deal. If he doesn't testify honestly, then he will be jailed. But who is he going to testify against? We know that there are some accused in the Bosasa matter, but Gavin Watson is no longer alive, and he would have been the big fish that they'd go after. But what about the politicians? Remember when Angelo Agrizzi came out with his black book and his lists and lists of who received the braai packs and who received the booze and all of that in the cash in those silver envelopes from Bosasa? Could we see Angelo Agrizzi testifying against some of those politicians now? And I wonder, this is going to open the conversation, and one that I've been speaking about. Could we see potential plea deals with people like Kat Matlala? Could we see potential Section 204 immunities from prosecution? I think we need to start preparing ourselves for that. 12:30, time for Eyewitness News headlines.
Thanks, Mandy. Good afternoon. We begin with the breaking news, which you have just heard from our reporter Khomotso Modise, who is in the Pretoria High Court today. Former Bosasa COO Angelo Agrizzi has been sentenced to 10 years, wholly suspended for 5 years. He entered a plea agreement with the state due to his poor health. Agrizzi is facing charges of corruption and money laundering for his role in Bosasa's dodgy dealings with government. Let's stay in the courts. The former bodyguards of Deputy President Paul Mashatile have failed to get the main charges in their assault case dropped. The 8 men attached to the SAPS's VIP Presidential Protection Unit appeared in the Randburg Magistrates Court today for a ruling on their Section 174 application. They allegedly assaulted civilians on the side of the N1 highway in Johannesburg in July of 2023. While the city of Johannesburg is continuing with efforts to regulate the informal trading sector, Human Settlements MMC, Mlungisi Mabaso, is currently spearheading an operation to remove traders who continue to operate without the valid trading permits. It comes just days after the Gauteng High Court gave the city until the 18th of this month to register and verify its informal traders. Those are the headlines, this EWN and more at 1 or as it happens.
EWN Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Tolagele Mganga. We start with an update from the second ODI between Pakistan and South Africa, where the home side are batting first. That's after winning their toss. They're currently at the crease on 23 for the loss of 3 in the 5th over. Batting is Aga on note alongside Ayab on 4. Over to football, where Hugo Bruch has named his 23-man Bafana Bafana squad for their friendly against Zambia on the 15th of November in Gqeberha. Ronwen Williams, Tebogo Mokoena and Speleles Tolo feature in the selection, while Masindi Nematanjana earns his first senior call-up. There's no place for Rilem Fukeng and Mduduzi Shabalala, with Bruch using the game to prepare for December's AFCON.
Why we only play one game when you see the overloaded program for the moment in PSL that players are playing every 3 days. I wanted to save them a little bit of another 2 games with the national team. Every game with the national team, I asked the players to go for 100%. I think with all the games they are playing now, that it was better to play only one game and a good game than playing 2 games and having players who suffer of fatigue.
And in the Bedway Premiership, Mamelodi Sundowns returned to winning ways as they beat TS Galaxy 1-0 to go 3 points clear at the top. Orlando Pirates extended their unbeaten run to 8 games with a 3-1 victory over Golden Arrows. The win for Adeslam Modu's Buccaneers sees them climb above Soweto rivals Kaizer Chiefs into second place on goal difference.
The performance of the boys are incredible, fantastic since a few months. The consistency, the way that we want to attack, the way that we want to defend is just fantastic, and the team spirit as well. I think we don't reach this kind of performance without a fantastic spirit, and I have to give credit to the atmosphere, to the team spirit that we have in the club.
Tolagele Mganga, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
On the N3 North, there's a crash in the centre lane after Moederfontein Road. That's causing delays. And on the Mike 1 North, there's a crash between Caller Drive and Grayson Drive. And on the N1 North, there's a stationary vehicle that's obstructing the left lane after Old Johannesburg Road. And in Calvin Alexandra, there's roadworks, and that's slowing down traffic on the N3 in both directions from London Road to Buccleuch Interchange. Traffic lights are out in 4 ways at Witkoppen and Cedar, and in Randburg at Witkoppen and Newmarket, and Main and Witkoppen in Paulshof. And in Tshwane, traffic lights out in Centurion at N14 and Gina Avenue, as well as the N1 and Old Joburg Road. More Eyewitness News traffic at 1 p.m.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Imagine if you could save time like you save money. A second here, a minute there. Type a little faster, walk a little faster. Or you could stop scrolling on the internet. Just think of all the hours you'll save. Now, what if you could take all that time and invest it? Watch it grow. Until eventually, one day, you'd have so much time that you wouldn't know what to do with it all. But unfortunately, time doesn't work like that. It can't be stored or banked. And unlike money, you can't make it back. That's why after 50 years of investing, we've learned that time is the greatest gift of all. And the good news is, if you invest early, time gives you money. And then money gives you more time to do whatever you want to do, even if it is scrolling on the internet. Ellen Gray, long-term investing. Ellen Gray is an authorized FSP.
LLB graduates can fast-track their legal career with the Law Society of South Africa's PVT School for Legal Practice. LPC accredited, this 4-month practice-ready course, which is taught by practicing lawyers, can reduce your PVT contract by 12 months for admission. Study by day, after hours, or via distance at campuses nationwide. The first 2026 intake runs from January to April. Applications close 31 October 2025. Apply now at lssalead.org.za. That's lssalead.org.za.
What do partners of the Gates Foundation do when facing the world's toughest challenges? They keep going. From discovering a plastic drape that helps detect excessive postpartum bleeding faster, to developing better bed nets to kill malaria-carrying mosquitoes, to researching an RSV vaccine that could save hundreds of thousands of children. For every problem, there are people who prove that progress is possible. The Gates Foundation, partners of human potential. Learn more at gatesfoundation.org/keep going.
Small businesses are anything but small. They're the backbone of our communities, the dreamers, the doers, the ones who keep Mzansi moving forward. That's why 702 and Capitec Business Banking are putting them in the spotlight. Every Thursday between 6 and 8 p.m., catch Small Business Focus with Capitec, where we showcase the hustle, heart, and the secrets to thriving in today's economy. Your vision matters, and with Capitec, you're never building it alone. Small Business Focus with Capitec, the business bank for everyone. Thursdays between 6 and 8 p.m. on 702. Capitec Bank is an authorized FSP 46669.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
Hi Mandy, regarding plea deals and Angelo Agrizzi and Kat Maklala, I don't think we trust the NPA, the under-resourced NPA and the broken crime intelligence and our police to make plea deals with these guys who are all liars and criminals. Anyway, thanks, Joe.
Responding there to that breaking news, the plea deal. Angelo Agrizzi has entered into a plea deal, and I've been asking the question, well, I think we're going to see plea deals being done with people like Kat Maklala, Brown Makhotsi, but that also requires, obviously, trust of the NPA and crime intelligence, as you've mentioned, but also there needs to be some kind of consequence. Farai says, Mandy, this Agrizzi plea deal has been long coming and should have been offered to him within days of arresting him after his revelations at the Zondo Commission. I hope the NPA won't take this long with Brown and Kat. Farai, yep, I think that you're spot on the money there. Keith says, that's why I don't want to do crime. When you're doing the crime, you're in good health. But as soon as you're sentenced, you contract the Zuma shake virus. We'll never get over that one. And then Alice says, there must be some sort of virus that haunts the courthouses. All of these criminals become very unwell as soon as their cases are heard and they're sentenced. Thank you very much for those messages.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk is brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. See money differently.
The South African Future Trust Summit, in partnership with Standard Bank at the Sandton Convention Centre yesterday and today. The Premium Entrepreneurial Showcase presenting international and local speakers sharing groundbreaking insights from their entrepreneurial journeys, also masterclasses with industry experts. Well, let's speak to Ray White, who's there for us today. Ray, good afternoon to you. Take us through what's been happening there at the Future Trust Summit.
Hey, Mandy, good afternoon. Well, we've had quite a few great speakers on telling their life stories, saying exactly what's been happening along their roads, which a lot of them saying their battles to get where they wanted to be. Even Bruce Whitfield, he was talking earlier on as well, talking about some of the horror stories and saying to people, we're living in a time where it's difficult to build yourself, difficult to build your brand. I'm sitting with somebody who is a master at building. Her name is Grace Andrews, and Grace used to work with, the book Diary of a CEO,
sure,
Bartlett. Well, Grace was in charge of making those podcasts, and they were highly successful. They went from 8,000 to 9-point-something listeners. With me at the moment, but this is the difference. Grace left and went on her own. Grace could be on 702. Becoming an entrepreneur, it must have been very difficult.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a funny one, isn't it? Because I think everyone says to me, you left this rocket ship, this media company, the fastest growing media company in the UK, the second largest show in the world. You're crazy. It's such a huge risk. Why would you leave? But I think anyone who's pursuing anything for themselves as an entrepreneur knows that it's a niggle in your gut that you just simply cannot ignore. It gets louder and louder and louder until you simply don't have a choice but to go and build for yourself. And I saw the opportunity that was in front of me within the creator economy, and I thought the opportunity was honestly too vast and too significant to ignore and to not get involved with. So for me, it didn't feel necessarily like a risk. It felt like I didn't have a choice, and it felt like the world I was falling into was one of the biggest developing industries we're seeing at the moment, and now was the time. These opportunities don't wait, so you have to grasp them, you have to run for them. And I could have stayed where I was. It was comfortable, it was secure. The pay came in every month. It was regular and safe and growing and incredible. And they are still going on to continue to grow to incredible heights over the diary of a CEO. But for me, it was entrepreneurship I had to build for myself next.
There you go, Mandy. Grace Andrews telling us about her story. Now, the big story this afternoon also is the big pitch. One person, 1 out of 3, it's down to 3 now, one person will walk away with $1 million. Now, it's not prize money, it's an investment. The SAFT, South Africa Future Trust, are investing in that lucky winner and making sure that they grow their business. So that big announcement will happen a little bit later on. Mandy, maybe it could be you one day.
Well, maybe, I've got to, be entrepreneurial like that, right? Ray, what a coup to get Grace. Thank you so much for that.
Lovely. Thanks, Mandy. Good to chat.
Ray White speaking to us there from the South African Future Trust Summit, that crossing brought to us by the South African Future Trust Summit. Incredible. Imagine being an entrepreneur and getting $1 million investment in your company. Sure, a bit of a dragon's den going on there to try and get that money. What a difference it could make to a South African entrepreneur.
702. Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays, 12 to 1 p.m.
So earlier this week, we had that court judgment regarding the informal traders in the city of Joburg and the permits that need to be expedited. Well, the Joburg MMC is busy with an informal traders operation to try and clean up the situation with informal traders. Alpha Ramashwana, EWN reporter, is watching that for us. Alpha, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time today. What exactly is happening there?
Good afternoon, Mandy. We've been with the officials the entire morning today. It's now raining cat and dogs. The weather's cat and dogs, so the operation is over now. But, Mandy, they visited De Villiers Street in Johannesburg CBD, which is informally known as Dunosa. This is where they sell or used to sell second-hand clothing items, which usually go for really, really low prices. And they had removed informal traders who are not authorized and who didn't have permits from the municipality last month. And when the officials visited today, some of them had returned, Mandy, and they didn't necessarily close all the shops today, but they did try to take action against them. I mean, there was one particular store where they were selling fruit and vegetables as well as clothing items in one store, and legislation does say that your permit only allows you to sell a specific type of product. So if you're selling food, it's food alone. If you're selling clothing items, it's that alone. But in this one store, they were selling both food and clothing items. And when they asked some of the workers there why exactly they are doing what they're doing, they could not give them any answers. Once they asked them to provide their immigration documents, Mandy, one of the workers ended up running away. He actually fled in the presence of Johannesburg Metro Police Department officials, and they did not manage to catch up to him. So it's the case with many, many other stalls here in the Johannesburg CBD. So the city is still concerned about the issue, and they are saying now the focus is to try and get them registered so that they can operate legally in the municipality. Let's take a listen to what Mlungisi Mabaso had to say, who is the Human Settlements MMC in Johannesburg.
But what we are discovering on the ground, is concerning because some of those that have obtained the permits have subletted these stalls to foreign nationals. I think you would have seen in one of the stalls that we have visited. But over and above that, people are not responding. They are not going there where they are supposed to be verifying so that they are able to obtain these papers to operate on the street. So that is concerning for us, but we are also worried about the conduct of some of our South African citizens who are obtaining these permits so that they give them to foreign nationals to operate these businesses.
Alpha, the acting mayor has also been speaking.
Yes, the acting mayor, Eunice Ngqina, has also been there at the operation, but she was talking about the concerns that the municipality has. You would remember that earlier this week, the Gauteng High Court gave the city of Johannesburg 2 weeks to register, verify, and allocate stalls to informal traders. And they have now begun the process of registering these informal traders. There's about 525 names that were written down of informal traders that still need to be registered and verified in the city center alone. So they have opened up a stall at GT Taxi Rank in the CBD and at 66 Jorison Place, where these informal traders can go and submit their documents and register to receive a permit from the municipality. But the concern that they have, Mandy, is that they haven't been coming to register their informal trading businesses. I mean, we did pass by there today and it was only a handful of informal traders that we could see. And the acting mayor, Eunice Mgcina, says that it's concerning that they've opened up this opportunity to formalize and regulate the sector, and yet the informal traders are not taking it seriously. Let's take a listen to what some of the concerns are.
We're worried about the turnout of those informal traders. They are not coming as we expect them to. And there's a list that we're given from the court of about 525 informal traders that registered on their own list to be verified. But up to so far, we don't have a sizable number that will actually make us achieve our goal, which is to get them registered eventually. We were also doing site inspections in shops.
Thank you very much, Alpha Ramashwana, following that story in the Joburg CBD.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a nervous but excited first-time driver waiting for the perfect gap to switch lanes. I can do this. The pressure. The Outsurance pointsman knows not just a car in traffic. It's a sense of freedom and independence on the move. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Live extra with Checkers, SA's #1 in value supermarket. Save big on deals like Lager Rooibos tea products. Buy any two and save 30%. Lancewood cheddar or Gouda cheese, 900 grams, any two for 249 Rand. And buy 2 Baby Soft Supreme quilts, 2-ply toilet rolls, 18 per pack, and get a third one free. Valid until Sunday at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
Before a masterpiece takes shape, there's a single line that starts it all, until every curve and every angle reflects the clarity of a single vision. And only then does inspiration take its final form. The all-new Audi A5, designed to inspire. Starting from 14,499 per month with a guaranteed future value. Visit audi.co.za or your nearest dealer for more. T's and C's apply.
Small businesses are anything but small. They're the backbone of our communities, the dreamers, the doers, the ones who keep Mzansi moving forward. That's why 702 and Capitec Business Banking are putting them in the spotlight. Every Thursday between 6 and 8 p.m., catch Small Business Focus with Capitec, where we showcase the hustle, heart, and the secrets to thriving in today's economy. Your vision matters, and with Capitec, you're never building it alone. Small Business Focus with Capitec, the business bank for everyone. Thursdays between 6 and 8 p.m. on 702. Capitec Bank is an authorized FSP 46669.
702 and Cape Talk.
Book of the Week.
It's a Thursday, and on Thursdays in the Midday Report, we speak to the author of a local non-fiction book. And this is a book we were supposed to speak about last week, but life happens, and we're speaking about it this week. And it's called Hollywood on the Veldt, when movie mayhem gripped the city of gold. And it dives into a little-known chapter in Joburg's history, a time when the audacious American millionaire Isidore Schlesinger built a movie empire on the Witwatersrand in Killarney, complete with vast sets, thousands of extras, scandal, ambition, and collapse. Ted Buerta is the author of the book and joins us now. Ted, good afternoon to you. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hey there, Mandy. Sorry about last week.
No problem, no problem. The joys of live radio, Ted. So,
Exactly.
speaking about the live things, and when it comes to extravagance, and what Isidore Schlesinger tried to do on the reef in 1913, what was it about this story that drew you to it, and this bold venture in Joburg's movie making past?
I've always loved movies, even since I was a kid. And when I saw these pictures, kind of black and white pictures from when I was a child of these olden day movies, kind of way, 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 way back, I thought, what's going on here? It's like we never had a movie industry in South Africa back in the early 1900s. And so the story always stuck in my head. Who was this guy? How had he done this? Was he crazy? It was just kind of this weird story, like somebody who, that famous story of the Fitzgerald who takes the ship across the mountain or into the Amazon or anyway. So it's kind of this way out ambition to do something like this. And it was the movie industry in South Africa. I mean, it was kind of it was all the things that I loved brought into one.
You speak about the movie mayhem. What are we talking about here? Production drama, legal issues, political intrigue?
Everything, yeah, you got it. As I start the book with a real battle that broke out when he was trying to shoot the Battle of Blood River, and something went haywire, and so the two sides started actually fighting against each other for real. And of course, he was using the numbers on sets that had never been used before. I mean, it's crazy to imagine that he was using more people as extras on a movie that had ever been done before by the Italians, by the Americans, by the Germans, by anybody who was big in the industry until then. And this was a man who'd barely made a movie until like 2 years earlier. So, everything he did was like outsize.
It really was. And so how did you go about uncovering all the archival material? Lots of local law and stories that have been handed down since then. But how did you go about verifying it all?
Well, it was super difficult. It took me about 20 years, the research from the time that I actually started digging. And I wrote about 4 books before I could actually finish this one because it was so difficult. He was publicity shy. He didn't like being written about. He used other people to kind of front for him. So it was very, very difficult. And the one unauthorized biography about him by Eric Rosenthal was nowhere to be found. And then when I did find part of it, it wasn't that reliable. So it was like a real detective search for pieces of information in a newspaper here, a book there, a paragraph by somebody else, and then kind of tying it all together.
And Joburg in the 1910s was a very different place. So what were the elements of the gold rush that made this so appealing to Schlesinger?
I think it was because it was like everything could happen here and anything. It was a huge entertainment business was going on in Johannesburg. It was one of the major entertainment centers in the world in terms of theater, boxing tournaments, Turffontein racetrack. So there was money, there was potential, there was drive, and it kind of was the perfect place. It was kind of the equivalent of Los Angeles, where Hollywood was this little thing that was busy happening at the same time that he was creating Killarney in Johannesburg. So there were a lot of parallels between the two cities, but I think it's because Johannesburg had so much potential back then.
And do you think that in any way it informed the current South African film industry, or is this a period that is long forgotten?
Oh, for sure, no. I think if you scratch on any company that has linked television, movies, radio, advertising, you're going to go straight back to him. I mean, he started what became the SABC. He started all of those early 1950s, 1960s, 1970s movie companies. All of them had people that came from Killarney. Everywhere you scratch, you'll come back to Schlesinger. And what's so amazing is that he managed to cover his tracks so well that nobody knows about his name. It was fantastic for me that he did such a good job.
So it's so interesting. I've heard his name before because my mother told me about him. My mother's a historian that covers Limpopo, and she's always told me the story about two stories. The one was that he was buried at Zebedela in Limpopo, and the other one was about his funeral and that the money wasn't paid for his funeral, apparently. And when his wife died, then the son realized the money hadn't been paid, so he paid for it. So I've always grown up hearing these stories about Schlesinger, so it was so great to read your book and get the kind of full picture.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was quite moving. I went to find his grave on Zabadila, which is outside Polokwane, which was Petersburg at the time, and the Chevre Kaddish kind of carried the whole funeral and everything, and it was kind of a real trek into the veld to find his and his wife's graves. It's nowhere, like, it's not on top of a koppie or anywhere significant, and there are these two stones, and it was actually quite moving to go through the veld and just find them there. And he always wanted to be buried in South Africa, because he always loved South Africa, and anybody wants to go out into the veld out there, they can find them.
So Ted, for readers that are unfamiliar with the history, what do you hope they take away from this book? What story do you want them to remember from it?
I think mostly it's not a biography. I tried to write it as a kind of adventure story of a man who has this crazy idea and all the interesting, colorful people he brings into South Africa and from South Africa, and creates something that is of an international standard. And, he didn't have any competitors at the time to compare himself to, like they did in Hollywood. And he did such an incredible job with it. And I mean, I just try to tell an adventure story, and I hope they take away that South Africa has always been capable of doing world best stuff from way back.
Well, another fantastic contribution from you, Ted, to the books that you've written about these fascinating characters that have marked our history. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Mandy.
Ted Botha is the author of the book. It is called Hollywood on the Veld, When Movie Mayhem Gripped the City of Gold. A really delightful book that covers such a fabulous period of time in Joburg's history, the audacious 1913 attempt by Isidor Schlesinger to build a movie empire on the Rand.
Access to the internet is vital for any country to grow. That's why the recent 6.75 billion rand digital infrastructure deal that Standard Bank Corporate and Investment Banking facilitated between Telkom and an Actors-led consortium is so transformational for South Africa. It unlocks growth and provides internet access to underserved communities who will now have access to the internet for the very first time. Search CIB Stories of Impact to watch the full story.
Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Something big is happening when the family group chat explodes, like the Chamberlain Big Summer Splash promotion, on from 23 October to 9 November. 10% off finest 1903 paint mixing. That's incredible! Amazing deals on outdoor, braai, pool and camping gear. Even the dogs joining in with our social media puppy paw pick competition for a chance to win 1,000 rand. And what's that? You can meet Bucky's Botha live in store at Centurion. Come make a splash with the whole family. Chamberlain, famous for hardware since 1903.
When it comes to protecting your workforce, trust the workwear brand that has been protecting workers for over 150 years, Sweetall. Sweetall has overalls and uniform solutions for every industry, so your team is safe, comfortable, and ready to tackle any challenge. Visit our new Boksburg showroom, shop A1 Atlas Road, Westwood, Boksburg, or go to sweetall.com today. Sweetall, we never let you down. Superior protective workwear since 1871.
While you're prepping for the best summer yet, make sure you're also planning for a successful future. 702 Drive with John Perlman chats to Liberty Financial Advisor Sheila Ann Roby to find out how.
Risk is always the foundation of any good financial plan, obviously being your insurance cover, because none of the goals and dreams that you have in place come to fruition if something devastating actually happens to you. So good risk planning, building a good emergency savings, getting your budget, and then doing estate planning, drafting a will, making sure there's provisions for tax, etc.
Visit primemediaplus.com for the full interview with Liberty on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Midday Report.
Thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure there'll be lots of reaction to that breaking news about Angelo Agrizzi entering into a deal. The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener on 702 and Cape Talk was brought to you by Nedbank Commercial Banking. Think bigger, think Nedbank Commercial Banking. It's 1 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Former Bosasa COO enters a plea agreement with the state, and Joburg officials on the ground to formalize informal trading in the sector. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Laminita. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Lamini. Former Bosasa COO Angelo Agrizzi has been sentenced to 10 years wholly suspended for 5 years. This is after he entered a plea agreement with the state due to his poor health. Agrizzi was facing charges of corruption and money laundering for his role in Bosasa's dodgy dealings with government. His matter has now been finalized in the Pretoria High Court. Khomotso Modise is there.
Angelo Agrizzi is not going to prison physically, but has been sentenced to 10 years imprisonment, suspended for 5 years. This was a plea agreement reached between Agrizzi and the state due to his poor health. The former Bosasa COO has not been attending court proceedings physically, but has been seen on a screen lying on his bed with tubes in his nose. After much probing and questioning, Judge Papi Mosopa approved the plea agreement with strict conditions. In exchange for his freedom, Agrizzi will have to cooperate with the NPA in investigations and testify truthfully against the accused in Bosasa-related corruption matters. If he fails to comply with these conditions, he will be imprisoned. Khomotso Modise, Eyewitness News at the Pretoria High Court.
Let's stay in the courts. The former bodyguards of Deputy President Paul Mashatile have failed to get the main charges in their assault trial